if I need a microphone.
Okay, get it back.
Thank you all for coming out here today. Gentleman, sounds like I really feel bad I never got a chance to meet him. Seems like a wonderful guy. And just by meeting his children today and becoming friends with them in one day, I can tell that this is an incredible family, an incredible man. What I want you to do, though, is I want you to take a second. And I want you to think back to the day, to the moment that you took ownership of being an American. For some of us, it was that moment when the teacher called us up in class. Hey, you get to lead. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America. For some people, the first time was watching the Olympics. I remember watching Sugar Ray Leonard stick and jab, knocking out the Cuban in 1976 to win the gold medal. But for the day that I really took it in, my father and I were down in our basement and we're watching a hockey game. Team USA against the Russians. Now we're watching on a 12-inch colorish screen TV. And we're losing our ever-loving minds going, we're beating the Russians! We're beating the Russians!
Yeah, I remember that.
We are beating the Russians. That was the moment that I took ownership of being an American citizen. That is the moment that I took a moment and took ownership of falling in love with my country. And I was raised in a way that if you love something, you defend it. So out of high school, I joined the Marine Corps. I did duty in Norway in the embassy. I served in Desert Storm. I served in Somalia. And in 1976, President Clinton said, hey, we're going to have a cut down of the forces. And I was like, see ya. I was thinking, hey, I did my job. I have the medals. I defended my country. I served in combat. I did my job. Went home, started being a teacher, being dad, and I thought that was it. And then 9/11 hit. And I remember feeling upset. Then I got angry. And then I realized that I wanted to defend those who I loved. My children. So, the next day, I'm walking into the Marine Corps recruiting office. They got it. They got the Navy. They got the Air Force. They got everybody. I come walking in. Hey, Staff Sergeant Hanson here, reporting for duty. I'd like to sign back up. Now, the Marine recruiter takes one look at me, and it's been 7 years. And the bodies, when you don't have to do a 300 PFT anymore, you don't have to do pull-ups, you don't have to run 4 miles, you don't have to do all these sort of things. I had acquired a little bit of a dad bod.
Can't imagine that.
And he looks at me and he goes, hey, Big Sarge. That's my nickname, by the way. If you ever look it up, it's Big Sarge. And I took it from that time. Thank you so much for everything you've done, but we are looking for young 18, 19-year-old guys. We're not looking for guys like you who we have to get back into shape. Oh, well, I tried. I was walking out. Then, the National Guard guy pats me on the shoulder. Hey, big guy. You want to join the dark side?
There you go. That's the Guard. We love the Guard. We love the Guard.
So, I walked in. Next week later, I solemnly swear to defend and uphold the Constitution against That's all enemies, foreign and domestic. I was back in. Over the next 7 years, I did 4 deployments. Everything from doing airport duty, to going to Iraq, to going to, and my favorite one of them all, Egypt, and being on the peacekeeper mission between Israel and Egypt, getting to see the Sphinx, getting to see the pyramids, and all that sort of fun things. Now my last deployment was back into Iraq in 2008. And what our job was, we were providing security for convoys. So they would go one side of the country, they'd go to the back the other side. We were making sure that the supply line, which is kind of interesting nowadays, that the supply line didn't break down in Iraq. And we were providing security. They put me in charge of the tail end Charlie vehicle. So I was always defending the rear flank. And we did over 70 missions that year. In one of the, in January of that 2009, we're coming home from a mission. For those of you who don't know, a usual convoy is about 40 hours there and back. We go to a place, we stay there for a couple hours, then we come back. And in hour 39 and a half, we're driving back, and everyone's dead. Everyone's tired. And right to the left of our vehicle, and we're the last vehicle, an explosion happens. We're going about 55 miles an hour down the freeway. My driver, think about it, you're tired. What's your first reaction? You feel explosion on ear. So he spuns it around, and we crashed right into a brick wall going 55 miles an hour. The last thing that I remember is my face hitting the bulletproof glass and then snapping back and hitting the back of my head on the metal. I woke up 72 hours later with the worst headache that I've ever had. But here's the crazy thing, is I was functional for the previous 3 days. I was walking around. I was eating. Supposedly I was talking to people, but I don't remember a thing about it. And I wake up, I've got this headache, and within an hour or two we receive word, hey, that we're going on another mission. And those of you who have ever been in the service, what do? Do you tell your command, hey, you're hurt? Or do you tell your command, hey, I'm going to cowboy up and I'm going to John Wayne?
Cowboy up.
Cowboy up. So I went to the medic. Hey, I've got this horrible headache. My neck hurts. My back hurts. He's like, oh, here's some pain pills. Now you're going to want to drink some Monsters along the way because these things are going to make you tired. So that's what we did for 22 missions. Every single day, taking a little bit more, taking a little bit more, taking a little bit more. By the time I returned home, I was addicted. Just like a lot of people. I don't want to say like I'm some sort of unique individual. There's a lot of guys who were over there, they became addicted to pain pills. They became addicted to other things. So, I get home, I finally get an MRI, I finally get a x-ray, I finally get all these things, and they're like, oh crap, you got broken bones in your neck, you got spinal fractures, and you got a brain bleed. During that time, I had 8 concussions in a 10-month period. So I get home, I go to the VA, and the doctor's like, hey, you're not really going to do anything athletic for the rest of your life. Just be grateful that you're alive. Here's some more pain pills. And I had a very typical Marine reply, and there's kids in here or else I would display it. Okay? And then I go home and I sit on my couch and I turn on Netflix and I take the pain pills. I would love to say that I did everything right. But for the first year after I got home, I isolated myself. Hi, doggy. I isolated from my family, took more pain pills, didn't work, didn't do hardly anything, but eat a lot of crappy food, get fat, and get depressed. Because I was told by the doctors, this is what your life is going to be. And I was angry the entire time. For those of you who have been active in your life, you've been doing things. You got Air Force guys here, we got Marines here, we got Army here. All right, airborne. And if you guys know, the second that you're feeling like you're no longer productive, what that does to you mentally. I have 6 daughters. And Junior, who is making a lot of noise right now. My third daughter at that time was 10 years old. And she did something that angered me. And at that time, I had a hair trigger. And I yelled at my daughter, "What are you doing?" And she did something amazing. She didn't go running away. She didn't yell back. She didn't even cry. She just looked at me and walked up to me. Put her hand on my face and said, "Dad, what's the matter? You're not you." I tell you, every single time I think about that, my heart breaks. And at that moment, my heart broke. And I said, what can I do to be daddy to my daughter again, to my other daughters? So that morning, the next day, I go on Google and I start finding every single veteran organization that you can find. I called them all, left them voicemails. Hey, I need help. And sat there. And you guys know, if you reach out for someone and you're reaching and you don't feel the lifeline, you actually broke down to actually reach for it. How that makes you feel. Because I said, hey, maybe I'm not worth it. 17 minutes after I called Wounded Warrior Project, they called me back. 17 minutes. I don't know what I would have done at minute 30 if they hadn't called me back. I don't know what I would have done at 1 hour if they hadn't called me back. 17 minutes after I called, they called me back. And the guy who I talked to said, hey, you need to get physical again. So one of the things that they do is they have this bike ride called a soldier ride. And I'm like, oh, great. It's just like riding a bike. I used to ride when I was a kid. Oh, my God. Does that really kill your legs and your butt? So I went on a bike ride. And then I did a Tough Mudder. And then I started doing CrossFit and getting myself back into shape. Because you guys all know, the more in shape physically you get, the more in shape mentally you get. And then I remembered my coaching days, because I had been a high school and a college coach. And Wounded Warrior Project asked me to start coaching other guys. So I started doing that. And then I lost my job. And then they came to my rescue, and they helped me find a job, find an interview, helped me with my training. Actually found me a suit coat that fit me. Went into the interview, knocked it out, and now for the past 6 years I've been working for Lifetime Fitness. I work at the Allen place. At the time I was working in California, now I'm working here. But they were there every single step of the way, helping me out. I heard that you guys are giving a donation to Wounded Warrior Project. So, for every one of you who have ever donated to Wounded Warrior Project, I want to say thank you. Because you donated and because you gave, there was someone on the other line able to call me back. You saved my life. You saved my family's life. Because you donated, you saved other wounded veterans' lives. 17 minutes. Thank you.